We have learned our lessons. The ANC must be an organization of disciplined comrades.
Well, just a few hours ago, those were scenes of celebration outside the ANC's headquarters, Luthuli House, after it clinched 57.5% of the vote in the 2019 general elections. A very good evening to you and welcome to Unfiltered on SABC3 and SABC News Channel 404. I'm your host, Criselda Lewis. Okay, so the elections have now come and gone. There was jubilation for some, disbelief for others, disappointment and perhaps regret for others. But the real work begins now for election promises to be fulfilled. The African National Congress, the ANC, is once again at the top of the ladder, albeit with less support than in 2014. Now, with the economy in tatters, many are keeping a hawk's eye on the direction that the country shifts. So, to gain some insight into this election and what the future now holds for South Africa, we're joined by political analyst Professor Ndletyana, who is the head, of course, at the politics department at the University of Johannesburg, as well as Thokozani Chilenga Butau, who is a PhD candidate and associate lecturer at Wits University's Department of Political Science. So tonight, we're bringing you into this discussion and we're asking you, are you satisfied with the 2019 election results? You can join our conversation on Twitter and Facebook as well using the hashtag SABC News Unfiltered. To you both, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I think we're all super fatigued with what's been happening over the past few days. But I want us to move a bit forward now. The elections have come and gone, and everyone is looking to the kind of cabinet that President Cyril Ramaphosa will appoint. When we looked at the words that he has, this time they called it a thank you celebration. So let me start with you, Prof. Ndletyana. What challenge does President Cyril Ramaphosa have now in order to try and reassure South Africans that the mark that they made was the correct one?
Well, he has to do something dramatic. Something dramatic to show that it is really a new day. Things are different. 57% is not, it's okay, but it's not something to be comfortable with. Especially because if you break down the voting, for instance, down to municipalities, I think they didn't get a majority in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
Ekukhuleni they won, maybe Tshwane, I don't know, but certainly not in P as well, right? So you have local government elections coming up in about 2 years or so. So there are two fronts that he has to look at. For now, he has to make sure that he does enough to prepare for the local government elections, and that means dramatic action because the ANC is looked at holistically, right? Not only at a national level, but also at a local level. And the corruption that we talk about, it's not just at a high level, the Musasa, people getting meat and whiskey. It's also at a local government level. Corruption in government has been institutionalized. The ANC has been highly corrupt. They've been talking about lifestyle audits, for instance. They haven't implemented those because there are a lot of people. The Auditor General tells us every year how much money is wasted at various municipalities. People who are councillors but do business with the municipality, and also monies are wasted, right? Houses that are built poorly. So it's not only in terms of personalities that he chooses to his cabinet, but he needs to overhaul the entire structure. He has to get people to trust the ANC because the ANC is highly tainted.
But how does he do that? How does he do that without looking factionalist? Because it's always been there, because many would look to see whether he would try to get rid of some of those who are seen to be pro-former President Jacob Zuma. If he doesn't do that, some of those names, of course, have come up with commissions of inquiry into state capture. Now, he says he wants to restore the ANC, the confidence of the people. How do you do that without choosing a cabinet and not being accused inside your own party of being factionist and getting rid of individuals who were seen to be pro-Zuma? Let me come to you.
I think he clearly has a strategy, because during the commissions of inquiry where there have been decisions or recommendations around who should be kept and who should be let go, he has used those commissions as reasons to keep people or reasons to let go of those people. So if he continues down that path, I think that it gives him reason to say, if a commission has said this or the NPA has said that, then I can go ahead and take that action. I don't know that he would want to take quick, decisive action yet, precisely because of the ramifications that you're talking about. But I think that would also have to be left up to the ANC to decide who would we want to be in this person's cabinet, and make sure that they bring in the so-called new dawn that we've all been waiting for. So I don't think it's only his decision. It would have to be some sort of collective decision or bargaining behind closed doors.
But a collective decision and bargaining behind closed doors of an ANC that is so fractured and cut in half, Prof. Ndletyana, how does he then choose a cabinet without having the daggers out for him within his own party?
The ANC only has about 700,000, if not less, people, members, right? Cyril came onto the fore as a public leader. He ran his campaign as a public leader. And to some degree, this has been a presidential election. You have people locally who did not vote for the ANC, but nationally they voted for him specifically. His approval ratings have been higher than ANC's approval ratings. So that means, quite basically and clearly, that he has to prioritize the interest of the Republic. The ANC cannot continue asking people to understand, to be forgiving, that there are dynamics within, there are contradiction, this and that. No, he has to prioritize the interest of the public. Once he does that, and that's the reason why the ANC elected him, because he has a broader appeal beyond the ANC. So he can't be expecting, no, people must understand, I have factions to balance out this and that. If he puts his faith on the people who constitute, there's more than 10 million of them who have voted for the ANC. They are not even members of the ANC. Those are people he has to please, and he has to prioritize merit, competence.
Very quickly before we move into the actual post-mortem of this particular election, who must go?
Well, the people who've been accused or who've been discovered to have committed all sorts of malfeasance. Batabile Dlamini, Bongani Bongo, Nomvula, a whole lot of them. The very fact that they are on the list is an aberration, right? I mean, this is an ANC that has really not transformed, right? You cannot promise a competent and a clean government and send people who are apparently thieves, right? To implement a clean government. That's a contradiction. That's absurd, completely absurd, right? So you need, it's common sense, Griselda. You don't really need to be a professor of political science to do this. You take competent people, ethical people who will restore credibility to government. When everyone out there is watching and listening, they would believe whatever you say. You know, people of credibility, Pando, Boweni, Derek Hanekob, you have a whole lot of them. So choose common sense choices. Don't come up with some Nomvula and all these discredited people, then come with an explanation. No, you have to understand ANC dynamics. They don't make sense. ANC logic cannot dictate the kind of public leaders you want to have. You have to prioritize universal standards of competence. The fact that you're an ANC member doesn't mean that you can be appointed even though you're incompetent.
And that's what he in part spoke about at the thank you celebration, where he said there have got to be people who are going to deliver, to do the job. Did you find that perhaps he was trying to say something within that speech?
I think he was impressing what he had said during the final election rally, which was that we know we have made mistakes. We are saying sorry, but we're a government that was working. And I think there was emphasis on that, to say, now that you have given us the mandate, then we will press on with getting rid of the people who we think have been involved in malfeasance, corruption, etc. The problem with that is he did have the opportunity to do that when he was elected by the ANC, and so to trust him now, we would have to, I believe.
Can he be trusted now?
Sarah?
What's different now?
Well, he can be trusted. He's in charge. He's in charge. He's the president. He can no longer make excuses. People have a lot of expectations from him. He's promised a lot, and there's no reason to doubt that he will not deliver, especially because they are now at 57 and they've dropped nationally. So something dramatic has got to happen. And I think he's aware of that. He's not an idiot. He's aware of that. Especially because you have local government coming around, in about 2 years' time.
Yep.
So something has got to happen, especially at the local government level. That's a priority.
I want us to take a short break here on Unfiltered. And once we get back, we'll look at this post-mortem. What were some of those surprises, disappointments for some, heartache for some individuals as well? We'll take a look at all of that once we get back. Please stay with us.
Part of Africa, we're giving its people the great future it deserves with an investment partner like no other, you. We've invested 120 billion rands of our money and yours into creating more than just hope for this beautiful continent we call home. We're sustaining our soil and enriching lives. We're giving our children a brighter tomorrow. We're investing in small businesses to grow the economy. And we're bringing warmth and light to the people who need it most. And by investing in our planet, we're passing this all on to future generations too. Great things are possible when we invest together. That's why we're invested in changing Africa's tomorrow.
Hello, I'm Nana, and I want to tell you a bit about Economics Unbound. It is a live studio current affairs program that brings an understanding of the economy, how it operates, and how it is managed. The show seeks to include ordinary South Africans in purposeful and well-informed discussions about the economy.
The whole corruption and having to pay people to get businesses, it's like killing our businesses.
While providing them with enough information to make better economic and financial decisions.
And we need to start thinking of new ways of creating new structures that are relevant at the time.
Through this program, audiences can look forward to 30 minutes of deep and tough questioning on the issues of the week.
Why do you think that our economy lends itself to such collusive behavior and such concentration of monopolies in key sectors?
I use my name first and foremost, that's all I heard, and from using the name I got a small loan of 8,000 rand.
I remember there is a time la sa zama kumfunela umsebenzi.
Well, welcome back to Unfiltered. Thank you very much for staying with us on SABC3 and the SABC News Channel 404. And we asked you to engage with us, whether you're happy with the results of the 2019 general election. We've asked you to engage with us. Let's take a look at this tweet from Mbar B. Marila, and says, I'm deeply disappointed. The whole process was wide open to corruption on more than one level. No matter the scandalous masters, or no wonder the scandalous masters of corruption came on top. Once again, the ordinary people learned that they can't win against the powerful mafia. Thank you so much for engaging with us. Cyril here says, the winners won, the loser is getting more slim by the day. Thank you so much for engaging with us. Also, Zandi tweeting us there using the hashtag SABC News Unfiltered at SABC News Online. I'm just happy we have C. Ramaphosa for president for the next 5 years. Pray for a day where we can vote for an individual candidate and not a party. So we continue our discussion, of course, and we'll look at who some of the winners, the losers, and who are some of those that surprise us. Let's bring one of those graphics up and let's take a look at the winners in particular. Can we have that graphic put up so we can have our analysts take a look at that? But I think some of the things that we'll talk about is the new kids on the block. I think it's towards that direction. I'm sure you'll be able to see it there.
Yeah.
Parliament's new kids on the block, good. Patricia de Lille, ATM with 2 seats as well. Your thoughts on that, Prof?
Well, de Lille's performance was not a surprise.
Yeah.
She's a brand, and she had a party before moving into the DA, and when she left, obviously some of those supporters followed her.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of sympathy for her, given the manner in which she was treated by the DA. The ATM is a little bit of a surprise. I wasn't expecting them to get to 2 seats. Hopefully, the connection with the church constituencies seem to have helped. The interesting thing about them is that the public face is Jimmy Manyi. And it will be interesting to see who they send to Parliament. Because Jimmy is apparently right down on the list. So there's going to be, especially because he was so prominent in the dispute in the last few days or so.
Correct.
So he might, knowing Jimmy, he might say that he's being the public face, the most recognizable face of the party. He might make a case to go to Parliament. That will be interesting to see how it pans out.
Patricia de Lille, would you agree the shenanigans within the Democratic Alliance, and of course those who were sympathetic towards her and felt that she was being treated unfairly within the DA. Perhaps some of those might have thought, well, we might as well go with Auntie Pat, as they refer to her.
I think so, but I also think it reflects the fact that a lot of people trust her because of her track record within politics, not just within the DA, but before the DA, within her own party. So I think the sympathy over what happened within the DA only added to that. But I think, as Prof said, she's a brand. People do trust her. And I think the ATM as well, there seems to be some reason why people trust that party, and that trust is rooted in the church, as Prof has said. So the trust with candidates within smaller parties is very important, because when you least expect it, that trust pays off for them at the polls.
I think, without a doubt, one of the biggest surprises here, perhaps where I guess many have been asking over the past few days, whether the DA leader, Mmusi Maimane, will keep his job after what we've seen as clearly the Freedom Front Plus stealing some of the votes of the Democratic Alliance. I mean, their performance, if we could have that graphic up, you just have a look at that, and which gives an indication that perhaps those who are not happy with the direction that the DA is taking, wanting to appease the black voter and pushing what others would say is the agenda of others, it seems a bit, it baffles the mind.
Well, this decline is not Mmusi's fault.
Yeah.
Mmusi was sabotaged from within.
Yeah.
Because the party is made up of conservative as well as liberal supporters.
Yeah.
And Mmusi, having taken the party leadership from Helen.
Sorry, Prof, just give me a second there. What we actually want to put up is an indication on our screens of how the Freedom Front Plus did. So I'm hoping that our producers will be able to put that graphic up as you continue.
So the party had reached a glass ceiling within the white electorate. And Mmusi, when he was elected in 2015, made it his objective to grow the party within the black constituency. And to do that, you need to speak to issues that affect black people. Issues like racial redress, affirmative action and all that. But there was a lot of resistance within the party. So they kept on contradicting Mmusi. He was clear on his mission for the party. But the sabotage happened within the party because they did not want the DA to transcend, to move more to the center, right? And a lot of other supporters within felt that the DA was not hard enough on issues of protecting perhaps their own interests, because there's a lot of denialism within the white society about the prevalence of race. They're impatient with people talking about race. They want to move on, stop talking about race, right? So when Mmusi was talking of attending to issues of race, he started losing the conservative white constituency, and the EFF Plus came on board. That is why they have tripled their support. So they have a dilemma. right? They were talking black, they lost the white voters, and because the white voters were uncomfortable, so they couldn't solidify their message to black people. So to black people, they seemed as if they were talking with a forked tongue. You know, black people often say, because they say one thing, they say one thing and do something else altogether. So that's the dilemma that they're in, and if they get rid of him, then we don't know where they will go. It simply means reverting back to that conservative fight back mode.
All right, we will continue this discussion. I'll also like to hear your views in just a short moment. Let's take a short break and we'll be back straight after this. We'll continue our discussion.
We're explorers. We always have been. Endlessly curious, always looking for answers, for new frontiers, for new stories. Because that is who we are. From script to screen, from yelling action to taking you on a journey. Radio producers, script writers, on-air presenters, news reporters, sports analysts. We spend late nights creating captivating storylines and earlier mornings keeping you informed, educated, and entertained. For us, it's not a job, it's a calling. We do this and more because you do your part. SABC TV licenses, made possible by you.
Reporter Sipho Stearman. Sipho, thank you very much indeed. What are they protesting about?
Well, they're talking about their living conditions, that they don't have clean drinking water, they don't have proper toilets, they don't have proper housing.
Lopang, tell us what's happening where you are.
Early this morning, one classroom was set alight at the school. Reptiles is creeping into the classrooms like snakes. Residents are saying that they've been failed by the Mokaga municipality.
This is what you see. People are angry. Let the municipal manager go.
We've seen that Brent crude oil rise about 30% this year alone.
Brent crude that's going steadily firmer speaks to a global economy that's in good shape. What we don't want to see are supply interruptions or sudden spikes.
The Bank of Athens has become Grow Bank. It plans to be a bank using digital and personable relations with its customers in the agricultural and food value chain space.
We're a lucky bank in that we are small. We're already working with artificial intelligence to allow us to manage our customer data.
Agriculture is a business. If we're going to take people, millions of them out of poverty, we've got to turn agriculture into a mega sector that works for everybody.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us as we continue to dissect South Africa's 6th National Democratic elections. Of course, many have billed that as one of the most highly contested since 1994. Let's come back to our discussion. I want to take a look at what the IFP has managed to do in KwaZulu-Natal. I mean, the NFP has been ailing for quite some time since its leader has been ill. Mm-hmm. What does this say about the politics of having the faces of individuals or carving a political party around a single individual? Perhaps we could start there.
It says that you will stagnate at some point, and any gain that you make will be marginal and not as much as if you show that you are moving with the times, growing the party, especially with young people, and growing with the ideas that other parties are wrestling with. So if you continue to maintain a specific party identity around a specific individual, you will not move with the numbers that you're expecting to get. And I think the IFP really needs to examine that even after the seats that they have gained in this election.
Yeah. Prof, your view on that?
Well, it's typical of patron-based parties. They are built around individuals. So people follow the individual instead of galvanizing the support around ideology. The EFF is an interesting example because it is a combination of a charismatic leader, this patron, right, and ideology. So to some degree, even if Malema were to leave the party, because it is sustained on socio-economic issues, to some degree it might just survive. In the case of Magwaza Msibi, there was nothing ideological. It was infatuation with the leader. Or when she fell ill, the party literally also fell ill. And they could not think of electing someone else. That is why for a while there was a vacuum and there was infighting. They could not even register for the 2016 elections, and that's when they started going down.
I actually want to talk about the EFF as well, if we could bring that up, and the inroads that the EFF has seen to be made in the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal, something that we've not seen before. Let's take a look at that. 2014, 2 seats, 2019, 8 seats. What does this say about the politics of KwaZulu-Natal and I guess of the Eastern Cape with them making these kinds of inroads that we're seeing now?
They have a good thing going because their constituency is quite massive. Unemployed, angry, bitter, that they are marginalized, right? So they are articulating their anger. And so long as you have those social dynamics, unemployment, the EFF will continue to live. You know, so they were always going to grow because that constituency is unhappy with every day passing. So for them not to grow, to be limited in their growth, is for government to start addressing the gripe that get people to vote for the EFF. So they are the only party that has grown, and they will continue to grow. Because the social condition are fertile for populism. For populism, because that's what they are. Because some of their policies don't make sense, but they are representing people who are bitter and angry at the system. Because the system, freedom to them means nothing. And Malema articulates that anger extremely well.
I watched yesterday and I tried to monitor as much as possible, and I could see how the ANC in Gauteng was sitting at the edge of their seats. And again, as you talk to the mass, it is almost as if the ANC has been given a last chance. And if you look at what has happened in Gauteng, by the skin of do they say the skin of the teeth? That's correct. Just at the skin of the teeth. I mean, what does this say about, you know, the danger of the ANC and possibly losing this economic hub?
I think Gauteng is an interesting example because as small as it is an economic hub, as you say, and the ANC understands that. But even with some of the things that have taken place in the province, you're not sure whether they're consistent with some of their policies. So we go from Life Esidimeni to paperless schools. So it's as if we go from disasters to huge successes. And I think them being on the edge and being dragged by the skin of their teeth will teach them that on a provincial level, you need to be consistent, and that will involve making difficult decisions when it comes to MECs and when it comes to how you implement provincial mandates from the national level.
Prof, we're really running out of time, just very quickly, on the ANC in Gauteng. 20 seconds. 20 seconds.
Well, they have to check up their act. They have a lot of resources. For them, small quality issues that they need to improve upon. Generally, they've done quite well, but they need to provide jobs. They have the resources to do that. So hopefully, this is a good wake-up call for them.
All right. I'm afraid that's where we're going to have to leave it. Thank you so much. I know you've had a very long week. We really do appreciate you being here this Sunday evening. But of course, we also asked you, are you satisfied with the 2019 election results? 60% of you said yes, 25% of you said no, and 15% said I don't care. But that's where we're going to have to leave it tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Join us again next week, of course, as we continue with more debates. And this time, I guess it will be outside of the election that we've been covering over the past couple of weeks. You have a great night and enjoy the rest of the week ahead. I'm Criselda Lewis. Good night.